Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I'm your host, Lois Herman, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and celebrate people who are making a difference in our world. And today I have a very special guest, Lance Schuttler, who has quite the story and has made a major life decision change. He has basically structured his life around an event that happened when he was fairly young. So, welcome, Lance. I would love for you to tell people who you are and how you ended up developing a company that is designed to help people get healthy.
Well, thank you for having me, Lois, and thank you for letting me, share the story because yes, this is indeed where everything began, and it was a major turning point in my life. So back in 2008, I was 19 at the time, and I was in college my freshman year, and my father had been going through bouts of depression throughout his life, but he had never taken any pharmaceuticals, nothing really natural. Just was kind of dealing with it in the winter months, the seasonal affective disorder that a lot of people in the northern climates face and, throughout the world. And it got to the point, that's a late fall going into the winter where he really was not doing well and he wanted to feel better, obviously. And so he went to his doctor and was put on a antidepressant. And over the coming months, he was switched multiple times, went up and down, a little bit better, then not so much, and then up and then down. And in April of 2008, he ended up taking his life. And, it was out of nowhere. Um, in some ways, hindsight, it was not, but we could see, Lois, how he as a person, like he as a soul was there, but he was not there. Like his mind was warped.
Mm,
And I don't place blame entirely on the pharmaceuticals or things like that, but we know that pharmaceuticals absolutely do mess with people's minds,
sure.
sometimes in very destructive ways. It even says it on label in the commercials, may induce thoughts of suicide.
Absolutely.
So that was clearly a big turning point, and it opened the door for me to start looking into things. And it first really just started with, what is life about? Because it was having me question a lot of things. And not that I was, in that position of wanting to take my life, but just questioning things. I graduated from high school, moving into a new era, and I just wanted to really just sort of find out what was all this about. My life itself, the brain, mental health and happiness, health and wellness, things like that. I grew up playing sports in high school, and so I was always physically active and using my brain and nervous system in those ways and studying with school. So I wanted to really see like what really is this about? And so I started going down some rabbit holes and started learning about some of the general corruption of what's going on in the healthcare industry, and not only the corruption, but just the limitations of it. There's so many hurdles that people have to face unnecessarily with a lot of different things, money, insurance, all that stuff. And I just started really getting a good understanding of what's actually going on. And then about 2 years later, I came across this book, and it was actually through a college course that I was taking. And the book, our professor exposed us to this book, and it's called Inventing the AIDS Virus by Dr. Peter Duesberg. And so when I started learning about that, we had a whole week dedicated to that book. And we didn't read the whole book in the class, but we read parts. The teacher never pushed that viewpoint. He only asked questions, and he had us ask questions and, kind of go from there. So that was really, in some ways, even more so an eye opener than the situation with my father, because then I could really see, based on that book, it's not just ignorance that's taking place within the healthcare system. I mean, that's there, but there's also intentional malevolence in some cases. And, that started, I got to the point where I, literally remember sitting down on my couch, kind of absorbing this information after a few weeks of reading the book and having the thought, wow, okay, I've got a choice. I can go one of two ways. I can either keep reading this and keep going down this path and seeing what this is about, or I can just sort of forget about it and just put it in put it on the back burner, so to speak, and not really think about
That
it.
would be like your red pill, blue pill moment.
It was, it was,
Mhm.
and it was, I took the red pill, obviously, and started learning a lot of very uncomfortable things, as and everyone who's listening to your shows, we're all aware of that information. And so that was sort of the path that really accelerated me with this knowledge and understanding. And so I got to the point where I started to see, what the agenda was that's been playing out. And so I vowed to myself that I would do everything I could to try to counter that agenda, because I could clearly see it playing out right in front of us. And I knew that, all right, I have to do something. Even if I can't, help save the world, I have to at least try to help save myself and save those around me, or help those around me. Not that we can really actually save someone, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make a difference for one other young man that might lose his father, you've you've changed the trajectory of a future. So your father in many ways has helped other people by way of what happened with him. And I
Yeah.
want to celebrate this instructor, this teacher that had you read that book, because what we're hearing are a lot of our college classes don't necessarily encourage that sort of open-ended thought process, which is what we should be helping our youth to do, is look at this, develop your own opinions, think about this. It's what we really need to be doing.
Yes, I fully agree. That man is, a hero in many regards,
Yeah,
and certainly is, the definition of what a true teacher is, helping to open the door for people and not pushing agendas, but
right,
just sharing information and letting people come to their own conclusions.
right. Wow. What a pivotal moment. What a
Yeah.
pivotal
Yeah.
moment.
And, sort of something with this, I don't really talk about this a whole lot, but I feel, definitely guided to with this. And I don't want to elaborate on it too much, but, and this is, people's rights to do what they want.
Mhm.
Part of this is I started learning a lot about the organ donor network and what's going on with that. I totally respect whatever choice anyone wants to do or family wants to do. I'll say, based on what I've learned, I've made it very clear on my driver's license that I will never do that. And I've made it very clear to my family that under no circumstances would I ever want to do that. There's different doctors out there who have blown the whistle on, you know, horrific things going on. We know about that stuff, but the point is, I learned about that stuff with it. And I think it's important for people to at least become knowledgeable and aware of what's going on with that. Now, obviously,
Can
not,
you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I just learned about that. I just read an article about that this morning about a father with a young child that ended up in prison fighting to keep them from taking his child off of life support because he had indicated that the child was to be an organ donor, and the child had had a seizure that would come, that he's had seizures in the past, and would, if the father wanted them to just organically let him come back from a comatose state, but the medical community in this hospital he was at wanted to pull the plug, pull life support in order to harvest the organ. So that's basically what you're talking about, right? Is that there are certain doctors who, if you're in an accident, instead of trying to save you, they might prefer to harvest your organs and make money from it. Is that kind of what this is all about?
yes, yes, exactly. And with that too, this particular doctor, I honestly can't remember his name. Uh,
Okay.
this was some years ago, but he was talking about how, and I don't know if this is in every single situation. Like I haven't been witness to that, so I can't 100% verify. But from what I've learned during that process of actually when they remove the organs, I don't know if it's for every organ or not, but the person actually has to be kept alive and for them to do that. Otherwise, the organs start basically, they just start.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, right.
Wow.
So there's been stories, and this doctor was sharing this, how people were on the bed about to get cut open, and they wake up. And so, it's in his words, it's murder.
Mhm.
And he said people who donate organs don't technically die from, their disease or accident or condition, whatever got them in that place. They're actually dying from internal bleeding from organs getting removed.
That's horrific. It
Yeah.
it truly is when once you take that red pill and start going down the different rabbit holes, it is amazing the horrors that go on in our world that many of us who live this day-to-day life of making a living, doing the best we can, we're completely unaware of until we start asking the questions and then things become um, more present to us that we're aware of. And it really is horrific what all goes on in our world. There are a lot of wonderful, good people. However, there are those, and we have to be cautious and be aware. We can't just put the blinders on and go through life in that Pollyanna mode.
Yes, I fully agree, Lois. Thank you. And yeah, I mean, it's very uncomfortable learning about that and, discussing it, but it's like we know there's a lot of things going on that people want to just turn a blind eye to because it's so horrific that it's no one even wants to even think about it or talk about it, but we have to.
It's part of helping people to wake up so that everybody can make a difference in their own way.
Yes.
So you got hit with a couple of pretty life-changing situations.
Yeah, yeah. And it was, it led to the point where in my senior year of school, of college at the University of Iowa, I got so fed up with a lot of the things that I was learning, both in school and outside of school, and just seeing, you know, what's going on there, what's being taught. Back then it wasn't, as in your face as it is today in the programming in colleges, but I could see it, and I didn't resonate with it. I knew that it was mostly junk information,
Mhm.
and that it wasn't actually going to actually help my life.
Right.
So, during the middle of the semester, just weeks before I was set to graduate, I just stopped going to classes, and I just effectively dropped out
Wow.
because in my view at that time, I knew uh, it was very, very difficult to make that choice, but I knew deep down that I had to take a stand for myself, and I felt maybe this will help others take a stand for themselves and just set that precedent that if I don't agree with it, and I really, am not agreeing with this entirely, like I'm not going to move forward with it.
Right.
So, it led to some pretty big challenges in their own ways, but ultimately it's transformed into a lot of great things. I did end up going back a year and a half later and finishing, and the main reason was that the classes I could take
Mhm.
were classes that could benefit my life. So I took an
Yes.
etymology class, learning language, yoga, um, other, impactful, important things, a mindfulness class
Mhm.
actually, which is very cool. So it all transformed into be, beneficial, but I had to take that stand at that time.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. That takes a lot of courage and it also comes with risk. And when we stand and take those risks, we don't know where we're going to end up, but there's a sense of trust, a sense of faith, a sense of knowing that I'm on the right path.
Yes, I fully agree.
And so where did you end up after? What happened?
Yeah. So after I graduated, then I started working shortly after that, started working in the nutraceutical industry
Okay.
and started working for different companies who sell nutritional products. I had my own health coaching business, worked for another company doing health coaching, and then back in 2020 started Ascent Nutrition. And the whole mission around this is, really what I've shared up to this point, which is that we wanted to provide nutrients for people that could actually act as medicine.
Okay.
provide nutrients that could help relieve suffering, whether it's mental suffering or physical suffering with pain, provide alternatives and real solutions from nature that actually work and that can actually work as medicine. So
Mm,
we don't, obviously claim that we're treating or curing things,
yeah.
but we've talked about this, Lois. We've got people who are, receiving immense benefits and getting off of pharmaceuticals, not needing to do things that they have been needing to do. And that's the whole mission and point, is getting people off of things that they don't need
Mhm.
and helping them to be healthier and happier. And again, it's not about, anti-pharmaceutical industry, because there's many medications that actually do help people clearly, but especially mental health, antidepressants are not the answer. Maybe very short term, but long term, they will never bring about happiness within a person.
Yeah. So is there something that you feel like that you've discovered in your research and creating these amazing products or bringing the products to market? Because a lot of what you're offering via Ascent Nutrition. So it's goascentnutrition.com. Is that your website?
Yes, yes, that is. Yeah, and the brand is Ascent Nutrition. And so, to your question, we've got several products that do just that. But
Mhm,
I'll sort of lead kind of like with, I'll come to the brain health information,
mhm.
excuse me, and relating that to depression and things like that. But we've got products that have been created intended for these times. So
Okay.
what I mean by that is, obviously we've seen what's happened with jabs and heavy metals and clotting and things like that.
Mhm.
So we've got something, people remember the information about pine needle tea. The
Right.
indigenous have used it for hundreds or thousands of years, probably even longer. And that's something where we knew, okay, there's compounds in there that really help to cleanse the blood and help to support healthy clotting.
Mhm,
And so what we did is we wild harvest wild pine needles from Canada.
mhm,
So white eastern white pines, and it's loaded in something called shikimic acid. Shikimic acid is what Tamiflu is.
mhm.
So it has strong properties and cleansing the blood, being antithrombogenic, supporting healthy blood clotting, platelet forming, things like that. So we've got that out there because of these times. We obviously know what's going on with the cardiovascular events we've been seeing. And we've also got something where we tie that in with the humic and fulvic acid.
Okay.
So people may have heard about humic acids or fulvic acids. So back last year, Lois, there was a study published, and you can find this on PubMed. Humic acid is extremely antiviral against many different viruses, but in relation to these times, it also binds to the receptors of the spike proteins.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
There's a lot of information out there around that. Um, Extremely important. I could go a lot more in depth, but people understand, where that is. So it's inhibiting the replication of that because it's binding to that receptor and neutralizing it.
Okay.
Humic acids naturally contain fulvic acids as well. Fulvic acids are known to bind, and you can find this on PubMed as well. They're known to bind to graphene oxide, aluminum, mercury, lead, cadmium, many other heavy metals. Fulvic acid, Lois, is so powerful that it can actually neutralize some radioactive material, and it's known to mitigate some of the effects of pesticides in the soil.
Wow, that's powerful. That's very, very powerful. I know my team on an energetic basis, we have for the past, goodness, or more years, have been seeing the side effects of graphene oxide and the spike protein in people's auric energy fields, believe it or not. We've noticed that the auras changed to all of a sudden, why are all the auras ruddy, musty, mucky, brown, orange? They never used to be. Used to be when we would see people's auras, there would be different colors. And then all of a sudden, everything changed. And many people had a difficult time connecting with their God self, with their wise mind, with their spiritual guides because of these interrupters, the heavy metals that are in our deodorants, in the chemtrails, in the food, in the water, in all these other toxic ways that have been placed in our bodies. And people are unaware of why is everything different now? And this is wonderful. So I know we do energetic clearing to clear the aura, and I'd heard about the pine needle tea, but this is new information for me on the fulvic acid, the humic and fulvic acid. So that's exciting because so many people have been using deodorant for years, not realizing that the aluminum in them or the fluoride. Does this also help with detoxing from things like fluoride as well?
So specifically, I don't know if there's something established, like,
Mhm.
scientifically. I would assume that there is on the fluoride. I don't know specifically.
Okay,
And I don't, I mean, I would guess strongly, yes.
sure.
Um, but I can't say conclusively.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd shared this with you, Lois, that there was a customer. She had used the humic and fulvic, and she was not using anything else. She was just using this. And prior to doing it, she had psoriasis all throughout her hands, and she had been dealing with it for 30 years. She had pain in her hands and her knuckles. Um, and for some reason, I don't know why, but she took a magnet and she, before using the product, she tested herself. She put it up against her torso, or her torso and then her chest area, and the magnet stuck. Okay. And then after one bottle, so this was maybe 30, 45 days worth,
Yep.
2 capsules a day, she she did the magnet test again. It didn't stick. And all of the psoriasis on her body, she said, completely dried up, peeled off, and flaked away.
That's huge. People don't realize I have been plagued with psoriasis in the past, and I had the bloody rashes on my hands. It's so much more than a rash. There is a deep burning pain to it that I used to sit and sob at night, cry because of this deep burning pain from the psoriasis. People don't realize it's not just the ugly itchiness of the rash. It's that there is just a real deep ache that's associated with it. It's not just an itchy rash. And so that's amazing that she was able to shift that. So I'll be back on. We'll be back on in a couple of months or weeks because I just started with it the other day for some leftover residual that I've been dealing with. Let's see what happens.
Awesome. I really hope that it helps, Lois. And I do believe, that it will, at least a little bit, and maybe a lot.
Yeah, I've already noticed just in a couple of days, I've noticed a change, but I'm going to hold off until until I come from that medical background where I've been involved with clinical investigations and clinical trials. I want to make sure that this isn't just a fluke. So but I will be very honest with you and let you know what happens.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's
Um,
wonderful. People need that. People with psoriasis, it truly is the heartbreak of psoriasis. It's horrible for people. So that's a wonderful avenue. So this is the humic and fulvic acid. It's on your website.
yeah, yeah. And we've got so some people will use this in combination too, and there's a lot of good studies out there on omega threes.
Okay.
So people know typically associate omega threes with fish oil,
Okay.
and that's correct. And fish actually eat algae to get those omega threes, get those fatty acids, the
Right.
DHA and the EPA.
Hmm.
So what we do is we just cut out the middle person of the fish and we go to the source,
Mm.
which is the algae. And so we water extract that and we get a very strong, clean finished product of DHA and EPA and then 22 other fatty acids. But people will also use that for skin health, obviously brain health, inflammation, eye health, and heart health. I mean, omega 3s, the DHA incorporates into every cellular membrane in the body, or nearly every, but specifically the eyes and the neurons. And so that's why it can help with pain. It helps with skin because it's an actual physical component of those cellular membranes. And so it's getting into the skin and helping in different ways like that. Um, but for these times too, pregnant and nursing mothers and children especially need it because they're developing the children specifically are developing their brains and nervous systems, and these essential fatty acids, the omega-3s, we have to get them in the diet. And if we're not eating 7 to 14 servings of salmon per week, we aren't getting enough, and most people are not going to do that. I mean, no one's doing that. So what we've done is we've got a product that it's not dependent on one's diet. So
Mm.
whether a person's completely carnivore or completely vegan or anything in between, they can still benefit from those omega-3s to get
Okay.
up to those levels. Like 95% of Americans are deficient in omega-3s.
Wow. So with the eyes, I know a lot of people are having cataract surgeries. When you hit a certain age, it's almost like an expectation. So is this is this tied to the deficiency, do you think?
Definitely, definitely. So the DHA, there's 6 million, 100 million cones and 6 million rods in the eye. That number might be inversed, just recalling off the top of my head, but an enormous amount of rods and cones, millions
Mm.
in the retina. And DHA has to get in there. So we have to get it in the diet. And that DHA incorporates into the retina and it helps with the eye health. And what it's actually doing is helping to split the light that's coming in. And then it sends that signal to the brain for us to interpret all around us. So there's a whole thing on DHA and the quantum mechanical properties of it and what it's doing with light and energy and how it relates to electricity in the brain and even consciousness.
Mhm.
Fascinating stuff out there. A doctor named Michael Crawford, he's done some interesting stuff on quantum mechanics and DHA.
Mhm.
And the short of it is that we've as a human species, we've developed or evolved, whatever you want to call it, or however you view that, where DHA has been a major driving force of how our brain and nervous system and the eyes have actually developed and gotten better over time. So what that means is when the light hits the eyes, it's sending that electrical signal to the brain we can interpret. And so if we didn't have DHA, even in the past, our ancestors, we wouldn't even be able to hear, think, speak, interpret, see each other right now. It's all dependent, or much of it is dependent on DHA and how that's actually co-evolved the nervous system, the eyes, all of that stuff. There's a lot more to it, but that's the premise of it. And it's fascinating stuff. He's definitely a maverick in what he's doing, and he's won many awards for his work. So he's not just like a fringe scientist. He's won many distinguished,
Mm.
great awards, and he's not part of that club, let's say.
Sure.
He's a good man and putting out good work and really trying to help people with omega-3s. He's like the grandfather of omega-3s, Michael Crawford.
Now, is this also something that's tied to Alzheimer's and dementia? Because that's another, we have a huge insurgence of that. And I've often heard that it's tied with the aluminum in the deodorants and our diet that's heavy in toxic metals. So will this help possibly help mitigate or ameliorate some of those symptoms?
Yeah, I would say possibly. And I'll say this: if I was in those shoes, I would absolutely be using high doses of omega-3s,
Okay.
regardless of where you get it from.
Okay.
But obviously, the cleaner the source, the better, and that's the point of why we did that.
Sure.
We've had many people write in testimonies on them getting off of medications. One particular lady was on 5 different psychiatric meds and just not in a good place, and she's been able to get off of all of them, and she's taken the humic and fulvic, the algae oil, the pine pollen, and the pine needle.
Yeah, because the pine pollen, pine needle are cleansers as well, right?
Yes, exactly.
Mm. Very powerful. Good. So you've done a lot of research on all of this, and do you actually grow the plants or harvest them, or you have a team, or how do you do this?
Yeah, yeah, we've got a team for sure, but I'm involved in many of the processes of what we're doing. Some on just on operational side, some, I mean, I've been to the different places where we're growing these things, and um, it's an elaborate process, kind of depending on what we're doing.
Sure.
We've got a hemp product too. It's like
Mhm.
our CBD. We grow it here in the U.S. in Colorado and Iowa, and we do some really cool things with that to separate it from other CBD products too.
That was the CBD was one of the things that helped me with the issue rashes, was this the CBD at that point.
Awesome. Yeah,
Mostly go ahead.
it's such a great plant, the hemp plant, to help with inflammation, help with brain health, skin health, anxiety. Pets can use it too. That's another thing on the algae. Pets love it.
Mm,
And so we've got two forms of it, where it's just the regular one.
mhm,
And then we've got a lemon version, which we mix with organic cold pressed lemon peel oil
mhm,
to kind of help with the taste of it. So pets like the regular one because they like that fishy taste.
mhm,
Um, and the hemp, the pets can use the mushroom products that we've got, the powders, the pets can use that. You can even sprinkle a little bit of the humic acid powder, just
mm,
split open the capsule, sprinkle a little bit in the pet's food, ideally like wet food,
mm.
and it will help them too.
So with your most of your products, do you advise making like a smoothie with these different products that you would have on a regular basis, or do you just mix them in water? How do most people take these products?
Yeah, good question. So kind of depends what they're doing, but the mushroom powders, the easiest way is mixing in a smoothie or mix it into food or like yogurt,
Okay.
cereal, soup, stews,
Mm,
all that's good. You can even take it straight. That's fine. Um, the pine needle tea or the pine needle extract and the pine pollen tincture, mix it into a tea, or you can take that straight as well. The algae oil, same thing. A lot of people take them straight, but you can mix them all together and just incorporate them at once.
Is there any issue with freezing any of them? Like if I were to make a smoothie or a batch of smoothies and freeze some of it so that I don't have to make a smoothie every day, but if I made a batch of smoothies, could I freeze part of it and then have it thaw it for different daily doses?
Yes, absolutely. And that's fine. It's not going to damage them in any way.
Okay, interesting. Wow. So people find you at on your website, and do you also give like coaching for people as to what they need? Do you have private sessions that you give to people, or how do they know what to take?
Yeah, that's a great question, Lois. So we don't do private coaching, though we are working on
Okay.
something
Yep.
that is, going to be very cool. And it will have, licensed healthcare providers helping in different ways. And we'll share that when it's, fully ready. But things are developing with that. Right now, we just try to really make the product descriptions as most robust as we can to give people the information. But of course, they can email us, chat with us on there, and we'll answer any questions. And it's an easy way to do it.
That's wonderful. Is there anything else you want people to know about your products or anything else that you really are passionate about with all of these products that you've developed?
Um, just that there's solutions out there, and there's so many. We've got our products, and there's so many other great companies out there too. We don't compete with anyone. We're all here to help.
Mhm.
All the companies, like humans in general, like we're here to help create a better world, and that's what we're trying to do. I really believe that this year, 2024, is going to be life changing for all of us and for the world. And we're going to have that big breakthrough of light where all the stuff we've all been going through, not just the past 4 years, plus our whole lives, as a human species, we've faced incredible challenges from the outside in terms of what they've tried to do to us and what they have done to us. but now we are reclaiming our power, and we're throwing off those chains literally, and it's very exciting. I believe that we've already won and that we're just seeing it play out.
So much of what is being exposed, as you say, has gone on for many years. So it's taken a long time to create the exposure so that people can truly see, and people need to be able to take some of this exposure in small doses, like you did when you were, when this professor gave you this book. When you first get faced with some of these horrible things that people have done, it rocks your world. It makes you really think about everything that you thought you knew, and then you have to relearn what is truth. And again, I go back to, I question everything, which is it's a good place to be and somewhat of a sad place to be, because after being such a trusting soul for so many years, I've become a skeptic, almost a cynic, to the point of doubting discernment. I think I have developed a very strong sense of discernment in order to trust something moving forward, because there are so many deceivers out there.
Yes, yes. And it's like right now, as we're in these end times to begin new times,
Right,
uh they're coming out because they're grabbing for the last little bit that they can try to get. And there's,
right.
as we know, people in the communities that we're with and just everywhere, all the snakes, so to speak, are coming out right now.
Mm.
And they're getting stomped, and they're going to get stomped, and it's going to be the fulfillment of what's already been said.
And they're fighting for their survival is what they're doing. And they are, you're right, they're getting stomped. They're being deprived of their human nutrition, the energy source of the humans. It's really sad, but this has to be in order to save humanity,
Yeah.
and for us to thrive. We're supposed to be thriving and living happy, healthy lives, and we will be there. Our team, when we do our journeys, we look a little bit into the future, and we see that. We see healthy, happy, thriving planet, animals, people, everything really successfully coexisting and connecting together. So we're on board with you with this. I like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it, Lois. Thank you.
Yeah. The end times, because we're beginning new times. I like that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Time to celebrate.
Mhm. Any last thoughts you'd like to share?
Um, no, I appreciate everyone who's listened, and I hope that this has helped a lot of people, and that's the whole point, just to help people. What I've been doing up to this point is giving away so much information and knowledge
Mhm.
around these things, and it's been really great and fun and exciting to build a company where we can get products out there that are going to actually help people and
Yes.
actually make a difference. It's not just about, for us, like the money is like the least of the concerns for us. It's about actually trying to impact people's lives where they don't suffer as much, and whatever that looks like for a person.
Yes. Do you have people like nutritionists or naturopathic doctors? Do you have any of them that work with you to prescribe your specific products on a regular basis?
Yes, we do, and we're actually growing that quite a bit right
Okay.
now, which is great and exciting. A lot of doctors and a lot of nurses and people in the healthcare field uh, are seeing what we're doing, and we're just getting it out there more for sure. So that'll really take off over the coming months.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I noticed on your website you have the affiliate program. Is that what that's about?
Yeah, yeah. But that's also for anyone. You don't have to be a doctor to do that.
Okay,
Anyone can do that. But yes, there's different things that doctors can get involved with and practitioners.
that's wonderful. Well, thank you for everything you're doing. And I look forward to, I'm enjoying your pine needle extract and the pine pollen tincture, and the humic acid. Let's see what happens. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you too, Lois. I really appreciate it.
we'll stay in touch, and we'll until until we meet again, everybody just needs to stay in that positive state. I often say, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day.
Yes. Amen. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll put all of your information in the comment section so that people can know how to get a hold of you. All right.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lois.
Thank you, Lance.